Found in smaller numbers within the island's colder regions, Chalicotherium obsidiequus is normally a peaceful herbivore that prefers to spend its days lazing about or playing with its family. It is very territorial, however, and the entire family, young and old, will turn against an encroaching creature at just the slightest provocation. A memorable scene to stumble upon is a group of Chalicotherium playing. One odd playtime activity for Chalicotherium is hurling large balls of snow or mud rocks at each other. Smaller creatures in the area shy away from Chalicotherium during this exertion for fear of being buried in snow or gravel. While many creatures are useful while attacking a fortress, Chalicotherium can be trained as mobile artillery. Its unique playtime habit becomes a rather devastating long-range assault tactic when it is given boulders to throw, rather than snowballs. Palovia maxima perfectly embodies the element of surprise. Though Menictodopids such as Palovia were once thought to be herbivores, they discovered that this creature was in fact After burrowing beneath the jungle floor, Palovia enters a state of hibernation and can go extended periods without any food. When some unfortunate creature eventually wanders by, Palovia bursts forth from the ground, tearing into its prey with its large canines before the victim can react. Though Palovia is ill-suited to the life of a mount, its usefulness in staging an ambush or as a village guardian cannot be understated. With a tamed pack of Palovia, one could assemble a literal organic minefield of deadly claws and teeth. However, any ambushes using Palovia must be planned well in advance, as it will refuse to hibernate if it senses any threat nearby. Carnotaurus cressa is a distinctive creature that falls between a medium and large predator. It lives primarily on flat, clear ground, where it can capitalize on its speed. Additionally, it seems to have no qualms about running away from large predators instead of fighting. The horns of the Carnotaurus seem to be used more for fighting rivals than actual hunting. This doesn't mean the horns aren't dangerous, though. They can still eviscerate larger prey. Carnotaurus is one of the smaller and more compact of the large predators. If Tyrannosaurus is the lion of the island, Carnotaurus would certainly be the cheetah. The real threat of a Carnotaurus is not being able to escape it once it has spotted you. Carnotaurus feels a very specific way. Larger and almost as fast as a raptor. Smaller, but much faster than a rex. Were it not for the creature's extremely long downtime after sprinting, it might be among the most capably balanced mounts. After going over my notes from Mei Yun's camp, I've concluded that the animals on this island are not only used to humans, but used to captivity. Even with their accelerated growth rates, their behavior indicates that they have been regularly domesticated for decades at least. Otherwise, they'd never have been humanity. Not only are animal populations being controlled, but the animals themselves are genetically modified. However, before I bring this to Rockwell, there's one more thing I want to confirm. nutritia is one of the few creatures on the island with a relative which can be found back home. The coelacanth thrive in the waters around the island, as well as within rivers and lakes. Unlike most coelacanths, coelacanth nutritia meat contains less oil and urea. In fact, it is one of the healthier sources of meat I've yet found. Most coelacanths are opportunistic feeders that eat anything smaller than itself, likely including baby water snakes, insect and plant life, and perhaps each other. While their limited intelligence makes them unsuitable for taming, coelacanths provide a viable source of meat for coastal or water-dwelling tribes. Many a day has been spent fishing by the water's edge, often with surprising results, as coelacanths often have consumed discarded garbage that is sometimes of great value. Due to their small size, though, a larger tribe would require a significant number of coelacanths to feed itself. One of the smallest predators on the island, Compsognathus curiosicaris, can be seen as a pest, or a threat. While alone, Compsognathus is not dangerous or aggressive. In larger packs, however, it remembers its underlying carnivorous nature. After a group of Compsognathus grows to a certain size, their pack mentality always seems to embolden them to attack. For some reason, Compsognathus is not naturally afraid of humans. Rather, it seems to be quite curious about humans and their instruments of survival. They tend to be drawn towards humans out of this curiosity, and then call their packmates to help explore their discovery. This usually leads to aforementioned pack aggression, with dangerous results. Compsognathus gain increasingly significant attack power and speed when in close proximity to other Compsognathus, as their pack aggression takes over their behavior. Additionally, their distress call carries quite far. Found only in the deepest depths of the waters around the island, Eurypterids are dangerous and adaptable arthropods. As likely to hunt as they are to scavenge, a Eurypterid rarely has difficulty finding food to keep itself nourished, even at the bottom of the ocean. A Eurypterid's threat comes not directly from its raw strength. Instead, it combines a hard defensive exoskeleton with debilitating poison to powerful effect. The sting of a Eurypterid increases torpor while reducing stamina, quickly rendering its opponent unable to defend itself. While Eurypterids are not intelligent enough to be tamed, this doesn't mean they are without utility to tribes. They are a wonderful source of chitin, and their digestive tract often contains silica pearls. They sometimes even have ingested incredibly rare black pearls, used by survivors for advanced manufacturing, making them among the most valuable creatures on the island.
Eureka! My theory was correct. The small podium at the base of the obelisk is definitely responding to the artifact's proximity and vice versa. Honestly, I feel foolish for not attempting this sooner. The stylistic similarities between the artifacts and the obelisks floating above the island seem so obvious to me now. Clearly, they were created within the same culture and era. Bizarrely, while both the artifact and obelisks are in exquisite condition, there are no other signs of this mysterious civilization. How could that be? What kind of mad society would gallivant about some remote island, building towering structures and stuffing knickknacks into caves before vanishing without a trace? I don't understand it, but it certainly piqued my curiosity.
Magnus appears to be an ancestor of the modern horse. Based on its stripes, it may be the African variant of Equus giganteus, which appeared in North America during the Ice Age, but that is pure conjecture. Its behavior in the wild is similar to that of other wild members of the Equus genus. It sustains itself by grazing, while keeping safe from predators by living in herds and outrunning its attackers by a superior speed and stamina. Horse and man have long been partners in survival, and this remains true on the island. In Equus, survivors will find a trusty steed, a pack animal, and carry them swiftly across land. Taming an Equus has proven interesting. Require carefully approaching the creature in the wild, mounting it, and then carefully soothing over time by feeding it vegetables. In fact, Equus reliability has led some survivors to construct special saddles for them. I even encountered a man who added extra saddle pouches that doubled as mobile crafting stations for chemical supplies, foodstuffs, and other items. Although not as robust as what you might find within a village, this utility helped him live a nomadic, solitary lifestyle. Some survivors employ Equus to herd and wrangle other creatures with a specialized lasso. This tool is sometimes effective for self-defense as well, as Equus is limited in battle on its own, at least compared to aggressive prehistoric carnivores.
Having readily available subjects has helped my experiments tremendously, even if their numbers dwindled over time. Not only was I able to curb the side effects of my freer curry's endothermic properties, but I managed to bring out an additional benefit of the mixture. Now it also lowers the subject's metabolism, letting them go longer without needing food. Marvelous! I hadn't even considered that as a possibility. Now, with all I've learned from these experiments, I imagine that I could reverse the effects of the curry and create a concoction to aid survival in extreme heat as well. I must find more volunteers post haste.
Paraceratherium gigamicus is a massive, long-necked herbivore that inhabits some of the island's grasslands. It resembles a gigantic horse/rhinoceros hybrid, but is over twice the size of either. Paraceratherium is a very peaceful and friendly creature. Barring some surprises yet in store for me, I can safely say that Paraceratherium is among the largest mammals on the island. While its size means that Paraceratherium can provide an incredible amount of food, it also makes it dangerous when hunted. A beast of burden second to the Brontosaurus, Paraceratherium is an excellent worker and is sufficient in size to support a platform saddle upon which structures can be built. It is a naturally friendly animal and is not afraid of humans. However, despite its normally calm demeanor, when it or its owner is provoked by aggression, Paraceratherium can quickly become a real threat to the attacker and will use its girth to its advantage in combat.
Well, I think I've gotten as far in my studies of the obelisks as my archaeological expertise will take me. A shame, really. This has been such a joyous little diversion that I hate to see it end. Oh, Rockwell, you old twit. You've forgotten the origins of this little excursion. Spelunking. Did you yourself not hypothesize that there may be more artifacts hidden elsewhere on this island? Surely you can't give up before confirming that. No, certainly not. Nor can I be expected to scour the Ark's corners alone. Perhaps someone can spell in my stead. Better yet, perhaps someone has already spelunked.
Parasaurolophus amphibio has one of the more interesting adaptations of any creature I've seen on the island. Like all parasaur, it has a signature crest on its head. Very docile at first, I've been able to approach the creature without disturbing it. If startled, however, the creature can vocalize a distress call to the surrounding area that warns of danger. Parasaurolophus appears to be low on the food chain and is hunted by everything, creatures and humans alike, which explains its skittish nature. It is a good source of meat and hide, if you can manage to keep up with it long enough to kill it. Despite being what most tribes consider a relatively useless creature to tame, I once met an interesting woman who had tamed an entire herd of them. She informed me that many overlooked the creature's potential. She even graciously gifted me a fancy saddle to put on my own Parasaurolophus one day. As a relatively simple creature to domesticate, Parasaurolophus is commonly one of the first mounts a tribe will be able to acquire. Its ability to run relatively fast for lengthy intervals makes it a solid mode of medium-range transportation, though it has almost no ability to defend itself or its rider in a traditional sense. Smaller creatures, however, appear to be frightened by the horn of Parasaurolophus, although it doesn't do much damage. It also has decent weight-bearing capabilities, which could prove useful for nomadic tribes as they work to establish a presence on the island. Coelodonta utilicero is a friendly herbivore, common to the tundra and grassland regions of the island. It is a large and dangerous creature, though it seems fairly trusting of the fauna around it. Once attacked, Coelodonta begins charging towards its foe. It builds up momentum as it charges, and depending on its ultimate impact speed, the results can be terrifying. With enough room to charge, it can even skewer the largest creatures in just one gore. Despite how powerful Coelodonta are, many tribes still hunt them extensively due to their unique resources. Its horns can ground into a highly arousing powder, and its thick fur can support many insulating outfits, making the Coelodonta in high demand. Even less advanced tribes use packs to hunt them.
The latest Broth of Enlightenment trials have concluded, and as expected, I am disappointed in the results. Though the primates I tested it on showed increased aptitude for learning, I do not believe any of them have truly ascended to a higher level of intelligence. Well, bugger the little blighters, I say. My assistants have almost finished preparing my supplies for my next expedition, and I have drafted a letter to send to the Iron Brotherhood ahead of my departure. Soon enough, I'll have forgotten all about them. Pardon the interruption, it seems that I have a guest. Now, just what is Mr. Nerva doing here? I suppose I'll find out.
This island was normal exactly. I mean, there are giant obelisks floating in the sky for Pete's sake. Not to mention that cave I found, which hid a platform similar to those found at the base of said obelisks. Well, similar, except for those oddly shaped holes that were carved into its podium. I guess I just didn't care about all that. So long as I had my beautiful, unique, and untainted ecosystem to study, I was happy. But now... no. I shouldn't write it off just yet. Not before I arrive at Rockwell's. There's still a chance that my data is off, or that I missed something obvious. I won't give up on my paradise just yet. Smilodon brutalis is a solitary hunter, generally found in cold, lightly wooded areas. The island's mountains are the perfect habitat, as the mammal's fur keeps it safe from the bitter temperature. While its huge fangs are excellent for delivering death blows, the creature's claws can be just as deadly. Despite normally being a solitary creature, Smilodon brutalis are not opposed to hunting in small packs. In fact, they have to do this to take down larger prey such as mammoths. Enough saber-tooths can take down a Carnotaurus, perhaps even a Tyrannosaurus. Either way, Smilodon brutalis should not be underestimated. While not as fast as raptors, there's no denying the saber-tooth's increased resilience and power. In addition, well-trained saber-tooth can be taught to use their claws to flay corpses. This may sound morbid, but it is among the best ways to quickly gather large quantities of hide from the giant beasts of the island. Leopleurodon magicus is a mid-sized ocean creature, typically between 20 and 25 feet long. I've yet to directly encounter one myself, but from the tales other tribes have shared, it compares to no other on the island. The rumors indicate that this beautiful creature has magical properties. However, the sightings are so rare, it's hard to decipher old tribes' tales from the underlying truth. They say that Leopleurodon is an elusive creature that can harness its magical powers to retreat from predators or aggressors of any kind. That the beekeeping tribes claim that their honey is so sweet that not even the Leopolodon could resist. While Kentrosaurus ethiopicus is considerably smaller than its close relative, Stegosaurus regium, it is much more formidable in matters of self-defense. In fact, it is arguably the pound-for-pound champion of not only the Stegosaurus, but when encountered in close-knit fighting packs, ranks atop the island's herbivorous dinosaurs in general. Thanks to its wickedly sharp defensive spikes, any creature that attacks Kentrosaurus is likely to be reversely wounded in turn, and it is capable of piercing even the thickest of hides and armors when it goes on the offensive. I have personally witnessed the Kentrosaurus fell much larger predators in a single such impaling maneuver. Underestimating Kentrosaurus can be a fatal mistake, particularly when it's in a herd. When traveling in numbers, Kentrosaurus seems to grow much more aggressive, increasing the range at which it will defend its territory. Survivors have seen little success in their attempts to ride Kentrosaurus, owing to its spikes and hot-headed temperament. However, a tamed herd of Kentrosaurus can effectively defend a compound and take on larger carnivores. Once impaled by its attack, the Kentrosaurus slams the attacker onto the ground continuously, helping to turn the tide of a pit fight. Pachyrhinosaurus midisora is a medium-sized herbivore, found almost everywhere but the island's mountains. It is generally calm and ignores all other nearby creatures unless it is attacked. Pachyrhinosaurus possesses a particularly unique survival skill. When threatened, its massive nasal boss releases a chemical into the air that harms other nearby creatures, making them less likely to attack it. Affected creatures are sometimes hungry enough to ignore the effect, and humans seem immune to it. Conversely, it can seemingly invert this phenomenon at will and coerce creatures into attacking it. Pachyrhinosaurus is an excellent starting mount for anyone new to tame. It is fairly easy to train, can carry enough to be a simple pack animal, and is not as deadly as some of the larger herbivores. Megatherium formipava is one of the larger mammals on the island. This is most shocking because it is essentially a giant sloth, if you crossbred it with an elephant and a bear. Because of its size and girth, the Megatherium is uncommonly resistant to being knocked unconscious. Despite primarily being a herbivore, a typical Megatherium is very intent on consuming the island's many insects. It is particularly adept at removing their insides without damaging much of the shell, maximizing extraction of chitin. The otherwise slow and peaceful Megatherium becomes faster and aggressive in the presence of these creatures. Megatherium is an incredibly useful creature to tame, so long as you don't intend to fight other tribes. Its enormity, high resistance to torpor, and voracious attitude toward insects and arachnids makes it ideal for farming large quantities of chitin from the bugs of the island, or simply defending against them. The Eutyrannus is believed to be related to the Tyrannosaurus rex, but it is noticeably different upon first glance. Feathered creatures are not necessarily viewed as dangerous predators in the same light as other theropods. However, the Eutyrannus strikes fear into even the island's most skilled hunters. There are few wild predators that are able to pack hunt alongside the generally hostile Carnotaurus, like the Eutyrannus does, with such ease. It is also the only creature I've seen to consistently induce a state of panic in opponents with its roar. Upon hearing it, most creatures in the area will flee for safety. A domesticated Eutyrannus can be a powerful offensive or defensive addition to war parties. With its mighty roar, it can induce fear in opposing creatures. Meanwhile, Eutyrannus can be trained to develop a confidence-boosting battle cry, which counteracts enemy attempts to induce fear, while also bolstering the resolve of allies, and may even draw wild Carnotaurus to its aid. These unique leadership qualities make the Eutyrannus a versatile and, at times, a necessary creature to have on your side during large-scale confrontations. When someone asks me what the fastest creatures on the island are, Gallimimus is always a contender. Unlike the island's many armored animals, Gallimimus eschews strong defenses for the ability to outrun pretty much anything. A skittish herbivore, Gallimimus even looks nervous when eating in a peaceful, clear meadow. Having no real way to harm predators, it simply runs away and uses its agility to stay safe. I've even seen wild Gallimimus outrun speed-trained Utah raptors. There are two general camps on the use of tamed Gallimimus. One camp thinks that their inability to effectively harm hostile creatures and their inability to harvest most resources makes them primarily a burden to the tribe. The other camp thinks that their extreme speed and ability to jump long distances is among the best for scouting and exploring. However, both camps agree that its ability to quickly transport multiple tribe members is uniquely beneficial. Giganotosaurus furiosa is an enormous predator, larger even than the Tyrannosaurus or Spinosaurus. Getting cornered or run down by a Giganotosaurus can mean certain death for nearly any creature. Fighting a Giganotosaurus directly is never a good idea, as its rage rapidly grows with every hit it takes. With this rage, it builds increasing reserves of energy to use, making its iron-jawed bites progressively more deadly and enhancing its stamina. Add to this the fact that its huge body also enables it to take a tremendous amount of punishment, and you have a creature that is generally better avoided or outsmarted than attacked head-on. Taming Giganotosaurus is a dangerous prospect. Its rage reaction, even when tamed, can sometimes cause it to briefly turn on members of its own tribe. Indeed, it may even throw off its rider if it has been sufficiently angered. And yet, the sheer size and immense power that the Giganotosaurus possesses means that some factions endeavor to tame it as a fear-inducing capital beast of war, even at great risk. I've eaten better in my entire time on the island. Not that it's a high bar. I'm a horrible cook. Oh, and they've been of tremendous help with my research efforts. So far, my estimates of the predator-prey balance are consistent with the ecosystems on the mainland. The water is simply teeming with shoals of megalodons, and they are extremely aggressive. Perhaps it's a side effect of having limited prey. Sharks aren't known as territorial creatures. I'll have to study them further. Dunkleosteus loricorruptor is a very strange creature. It is a fairly large fish, covered head to tail in armoured plates, with incredibly powerful jaws. It tends to eat the island's water-dwelling crustaceans trawling the sea, as it is not fast enough to catch most of the smaller fish. Dunkleosteus is surprisingly combat-oriented for a fish. Its well-armoured body protects it from many creatures, while its bite is strong enough to easily crush through chitinous shells. Dunkleosteus is an incredibly useful fish for coastal communities. Its powerful jaws make short work of the stone and oil formations found throughout the oceanic depths. While harvesting, Dunkleosteus can defend its rider from all but the largest threats in the waters, and once it is past its prime, the Dunkleosteus itself can be harvested for a fair amount of chitin. Thylacoleo fertimorsus is a large, powerful marsupial that can often be found hunting around the trees among the island's redwoods. Its long claws and semi-opposable digits make it an apt climber, a quality that Thylacoleo uses to its advantage while hunting. It clambers up large trees and waits to ambush passing prey by pouncing upon them. When something that large jumps onto a target, the victim becomes stunned and doesn't stand much of a chance. Thylacoleo's most notable fighting quality is its powerful jaws. Once it bites its prey, it locks its jaw in an iron grip that can hold most smaller creatures in place. Thylacoleo then goes on to savage its prey with its sharp claws. If it needs to escape from a fight, Thylacoleo uses its muscular hind legs to jump back to safety among the trees. Thylacoleo is a moderately strong mount, and its ability to climb trees and jump long distances makes it useful for traversal. As such, developing tribes often tame it. Small raiding parties particularly favour Thylacoleo, as it is well suited.
Not too long ago, I thought this place was a far-off utopia where I could study all the world's lost wonders. Now that I'm certain it's not natural at all, I have to say, it's lost a lot of luster. Interference from mankind hasn't helped. Most tribes have learned to live in harmony with their slice of the island. But some aren't content with it. One is even trying to conquer all the others. And naturally,
The one being received by the Iron Brotherhood, they didn't seem very pleased to see me, especially when I mentioned Rockwell. That's a first. Add to that the rather deserted, gloomy state of their compound, and I'm starting to feel a bit apprehensive. Their leader can't return from his hunting expedition soon enough. All I've confirmed so far is that, yes, they gathered all of the artifacts Rockwell sought, and yes, the artifacts were able to activate one of the obelisks. You'd think they'd be celebrating such a monumental discovery, but it's just, I keep glancing at the artifact. I understand why the Iron Brotherhood's leader didn't want it. Since it has no apparent use, all it does is remind him of the tribesmen who died seizing it from that giant spider. Can it really be useless, though? They described the artifacts that activated the obelisks as looking similar to it, so I headed to the nearest obelisk to see if I could get a response. No luck. Maybe it activates something else. Of course, the platform in the cave. It's a long shot, but it's the only thing I can think of that's similar to the obelisks. Definitely worth a try.
Miss Walker's impromptu visits are always an unexpected pleasure. After that headache with sharks and blackfoots, a lively tea-time discussion about the abnormalities of the Ark's ecosystem was precisely what I needed. Thank goodness I've managed to find an intellectual colleague that shares my love for the sciences. It saddens me to think that Miss Walker's charming colonial accent would keep her out of the more prestigious institutions and societies back home. Another of the Ark's wonders. It is a true meritocracy, unlike any in the modern world. If Miss Walker and I could find and cultivate more minds like ourselves, we could create a true scientific utopia.
Casteroides is a large mammalian herbivore that tends to live near water. Unlike other larger beaver species, this one retains the chisel-shaped teeth of modern beavers. As is typical for beavers, they build dams as habitats, but the larger creatures on the island have a tendency to transport. As a result, finding unsullied dams in the wild is quite rare. Casteroides itself doesn't seem to realize how dangerous the island is. I don't know if it's simply too dumb to notice the dangers, or if it just doesn't care. But Casteroides happily goes about its day, playing in the water and gnawing on wood. The value of a tamed Casteroides is obvious from its physiology. The creature naturally gathers wood extremely efficiently, far more than most species on the island. It's not the strongest creature, so it can only carry limited amounts, but it is a natural lumberjack.
Greetings and salutations, dear reader. If these words are gracing your eyes, then you have had the good fortune to find the journal of Sir Edmund Rockwell, stupendous scholar, gallant gentleman, and explorer extraordinaire. It also means that it's entirely possible that I've met some unseemly end on this fascinating, exceedingly dangerous island that I call home. I suppose you could have also said, or I could have misplaced it. In which case, please proceed to either hang your head in shame, whichever is better. Regards, Sir Edmund Rockwell.
Dimetrodon calorecta is a much calmer predator than most on the island. Because it lives off smaller prey than humans, it generally ignores anything much larger than a coelacanth. Dimetrodon is one of the few carnivores on the island that could be classified as reasonably friendly in the wild. The sail on Dimetrodon's back is an especially fascinating thing. It can be angled to provide shade from the sun and allows Dimetrodon to disperse heat more quickly. The inner workings of the sail can also restrict blood flow in the creature to hold in excessive heat. Together, these two traits allow Dimetrodon to comfortably survive in any climate. though they are most commonly found in the swamplands, which are like the Carnotaurus. Baryonyx aquafulguar is a large carnivore, but not large enough to rival the island's apex predators. While not as powerful as some deep-sea predators or Spinosaurus, Baryonyx is an extremely fast swimmer who is still sufficiently nimble enough to threaten most creatures on the island. And yet, despite being a fast, dangerous dinosaur, Baryonyx almost exclusively consumes fish and other water dwellers. The highly specific metabolism of Baryonyx seems to allow it to heal wounds almost preternaturally fast after feeding on nutritious fish meat. Perhaps this is why Baryonyx rarely attacks land animals. Baryonyx's natural affinity for aquatic predation means that once tamed, it learns to kill ocean dwellers even more efficiently. Between its speed and its power, Baryonyx makes an ideal choice for anyone interested in frequently moving between water and land travel, and who values speed and agility over raw strength. Residing almost solely within the island's coast, Diplocoelus navigatrix is a small amphibian that primarily eats minor fish. It rounds out what I consider to be the middle bottom of the ecosystem, feeding on the tinier, non-insect creatures of the island, while itself being a common snack for the larger creatures. Because so many creatures prey on it, Diplocoelus has become very skittish and often flees at the first sign of trouble. It uses its amphibious nature to escape into whichever environment its predator is native to. Diplocoelus' unique capability to retain vast quantities of oxygen allows it to effectively remain submerged for hours at a time, usually outlasting even other amphibious creatures that might otherwise prey upon it. There are only a few uses for tamed Diplocoelus. It is primarily kept for the rather disgusting practice of employing a Diplocoelus as an oxygen bag. Diplocoelus stores air in the bladders of its head, and divers can suck from these bladders to take deep breaths while submerged, supporting long-term underwater exploration without the use of external gear. Surprisingly, Diplocoelus is also extremely efficient when it comes to hunting trilobites. The Beelzebufo palucocus is the largest frog I've ever seen. Almost impossibly large, it can actually fit a full-grown human adult on its back, though just barely. This is a dangerous prospect, though, as secretions from Beelzebufo's skin and saliva have a narcotic effect on most creatures. Not surprisingly, Beelzebufo is adept at killing insects. Its lengthy tongue allows it to quickly grab prey from afar, killing most insects near instantly and quickly digesting them. It even combines the narcotic chemicals in its mouth with the insect's chitin to create a specialized sticky substance. Tamed Beelzebufo make for strange mounts for strange people. Many tribes don't believe.
What magic created the Scarabeidai gigas? I cannot say. What I can say is that this creature is a perfect symbiont for advanced human tribes. Coprophagic, it eats mostly useless waste, feces. It metabolizes this waste into a more refined waste product, along with an oily byproduct. The oily byproduct is chemically the same as the oil found in the oceans around the island. Somehow, Scarabeei converts feces into oil. If that wasn't reason enough to worship the Scarabeei, the refined waste product is almost identical to fertilizer from a compost bin. Scarabeei makes me think humans have been on the island for a long time. Why else would a creature evolve to be such a perfect pet? Most tribes jealously protect their Scarabeei, whom are handily tamed with the skilled use of some well-handled feces. These wondrous little organic biofactories are truly a sustainable, green, eco-friendly source of resources for living off the land. Oil becomes gas, which is generator fuel. Fertilizer means crops, which is human fuel. The Scarabeei can power all aspects of island life.
Any chemist worth his salt knows the irreplaceable value of testing. Until a tonic has been rigorously tested, it is less useful than water. If only I could persuade this island's less intellectual inhabitants to see that tests on Mesopithecus serve well for early trials, but they are no replacement for genuine human subjects at later, safer stages. By subjects, I of course mean willing participants that are prepared to risk mild headaches and much less mild nausea for the sake of science. The Laughing Skulls offered rather less willing participants at one point, but I declined. With how difficult it is to find volunteers these days, I sometimes regret it. Before arriving on this island, I would have dismissed the idea of a device instantly transporting a person from one location to another as complete and utter poppycock. Yet, that appears exactly what the strange platforms beneath the obelisks are capable of doing. Astounding. Yes, there was a dragon on the other side. I'm sure Mr. Nerva and his men fought quite the heroic battle, but discovering another slobbering beast is trivial in comparison. Imagine, one could go from one side of the globe to the other in the blink of an eye. And I'll wager that is just the start of the obelisk's capabilities. I must learn more. I must!
occupying a space in the low to middle end of the food chain, Electrophorus beluardomato is a carnivorous swimmer that feeds mostly off of shellfish and small fish. Despite its common name, it is actually a very long knife fish and not an eel. It does not provide much meat, so many predators simply leave it be. Unlike most predators, it does not use brute strength to bring down its prey, but instead releases an electrical charge around itself to knock its prey unconscious. Alone, this can take out a small creature. When attacking together, Electrophorus can even bring down the larger ocean life forms, and then feed as a group. By far the most common use of Electrophorus is to subdue large ocean creatures. Knocking out a plesiosaur or other giant deep-sea leviathan can be incredibly difficult.
I can't be certain when you'll find this slither of thought. Perhaps it will be the first one that touches your mind. Or the last. Cause and effect. I can follow through reason. But time itself, that takes concentration. Seconds, centuries, decades, hours, minutes. All these bleed together into a swirling torrent. It wasn't always this way. I know. I know that. Once time passed for me as it did for you. But now I cannot be sure how long I have been waiting. Only that it has felt eternal. The past, the present and the future matter insofar as their effect on everything else. But for me, concepts, variables, not illusory, but not tangible either.
Kairuku Waitaki is an amazing, docile, and friendly creature to everything but fish. Honestly, I'm not quite sure how Kairuku manages to stay populated across the island's colder climes, with the many predators stalking these frozen lands. It is weak and only has one small defensive trait. Suspended in Kairuku blubber are small, dense particles that act as a light form of armor. Adding to Kairuku's problems, a clever survivor discovered that refining Kairuku blubber, concentrating the particles in it, can yield a natural form of the same polymer utilized in advanced tribes' manufacturing processes. This has caused many tribes to hunt Kairuku extensively, a practice colloquially known as Kairu cupping. There is not...
Sadly, my freer curry trials cannot begin immediately, as the volunteers have a much more difficult journey to Rockwell Manor than I. After all, I couldn't very well carry every one of them on Archimedes. Yes, the Argentavis could clutch one of his talons, but I've always found the practice to be barbaric. The rest of the Ark may be embroiled in feudal savagery, but a gentleman always maintains his class and dignity. At any rate, I must have my assistants renovate the guest compound. Naturally, I would never let strangers into the manor proper, but there's no reason their stay should not reflect my civilized standards.
Ichthyosaurus curiosa is a comparatively small carnivore found in the waters around the island. It is slightly larger than a human, but that's still small compared to the leviathans roaming these waters. It seems to be very interested in any creature around its size, often approaching and following humans swimming through its waters. Despite its appearance, the Ichthyosaurus is neither a fish nor an ocean mammal. Like many creatures in the waters around the island, it is actually an aquatic reptile. I can't think of a better mount for someone starting to explore the island's seas and waterways. Ichthyosaurus is a comparatively fast swimmer, and even in the wild will cozy right up to you and try to figure out what you're doing. Taming these is actually pretty easy, as they seem to love humans and will be fed and tamed without the use of violence.
remote northern cave as the site of my spectacular spelunking sojourn, I never imagined that I'd find such wonders within. Granted, I don't know what this specific wonder does exactly, but it's fascinating to examine. It's like nothing I've ever seen. I don't even recognize the materials that it's composed of, and it's constantly pulsing with some sort of latent energy. What is it? Is it unique? Or are there similar artifacts just waiting to be discovered beneath the island's surface? My, how invigorating! Isabel was right. This was exactly what I needed. I feel like a young man again.
Iomia ignatus is another of the island's generally docile herd animals. They are small enough that almost any predator can bring them down, but large enough to provide plenty of meat. Were it not for the protection of the herd and their instinct to run from any predator, these would almost certainly be hunted to extinction. Phiomia's tusks and trunk make it especially suited to scavenging plant life from the ground. It uses its tusks to dig up loose plant life, then uses its stubby trunk to scoop the foliage into its mouth. Adult Phiomia often dig up food for their young, and watching a baby Phiomia attempt to use its trunk can be quite amusing. While it is completely possible to ride a Phiomia around, they are a meagre choice. They work very well, however, as pack mules. If you feed the Phiomia a stimberry, it serves as a laxative in the creature's digestive system. Knowing this, tribal communities often keep a herd of these as livestock to produce mass quantities of fertilizer. In the wild, Apis lithohermia drones never stray far from their nests, which they build high in the island's redwood trees or on rocky cliff sides. Apis drones can be seen swarming around the nest in groups, but to get a look at the queen apis, one would need to crack open the nest itself. Speaking from experience, this is not a pleasant task, as the untamable apis drones are quite territorial. I probably should have seen that one coming in hindsight. Take caution. Apis stings will significantly weaken any creature which suffers them. And because its stinger is not barbed, Apis can sting multiple times without its stinger being ripped away. A tamed Apis queen will lay new drone eggs and construct a nest that survivors can farm for honey, so long as they remember to wear specialized beekeeping. Said honey is not only sweet and delicious, but laced with scents that land mammals find irresistible. Many hunters use it to bait their traps. Apis drones will also follow their queen into battle, so they can be used for self-defense in a pinch. Megapiranha maglemorsis is a carnivorous fish found fairly commonly in the rivers and ponds of the island. Its bite is incredibly powerful. I've even seen them break through the armored turtles of the island. Megapiranha has one of the strongest bites pound for pound of any creature on the island. When encountering a megapiranha, be on the lookout for the rest of the school. No one megapiranha is an overwhelming threat, but their tendency to swarm prey can make short work of much larger and stronger creatures. Any given megapiranha is easy to kill, but killing the entire school can be a daunting task. Like some of the other creatures on the island, a tamed megapiranha is best suited as a guard. Their high metabolism makes them require more food than many other creatures, but they are very adept at hunting their own food, particularly the coelacanths. Among the most vocal creatures on the island, Ichthyornis piscoquis actually appears to be a relatively normal seagull. It primarily eats fish, and its distinctive cries can be heard echoing over across the island's many beaches. As you might expect from a seagull, Ichthyornis will flee at the slightest provocation. Ichthyornis is a versatile and opportunistic hunter. Its primary form of attack is to dive into the top layers of water and impale its prey. However, since its food source can be unpredictable, Ichthyornis has developed a keen ability to steal food from unsuspecting travelers. Their affinity for shiny objects leads them to sometimes knock tools and weapons out of the hands of unsuspecting survivors. But Ichthyornis is too small to actually fly off with them. Ichthyornis surprised me by being a very loyal and very social creature once tamed. It likes to ride on its owner's shoulder and bring that person treats.
The new legion is finally on the march, and not a moment too soon. Mr. Nerva runs his tribe exceptionally well, but their compound is positively spot. I don't think I saw a single piece of decor anywhere. It certainly made me miss the comforts of Rockwell Manor, I'll say that. At any rate, we are apparently in pursuit of a barbaric beast queen. According to the men, she feasts on the flesh of her enemies alongside her army of monsters. Dreadful. Mr. Nerva is convinced that she is heading towards an obelisk, but I see no cause for alarm. No mere heathen could hope to uncover its secrets. Certainly not alone. I'll admit I have been rather coy with Mr. Nerva when it comes to the true nature of the obelisks. As a military, the obelisks would naturally be useful in some sort of weapon. I have made sure to allude to that possibility from time to time. It is not that I am selling my gracious host a falsehood. Neither any proof that the obelisks could be recognized, nor any evidence to the contrary. Their purpose is entirely theoretical at this stage, and if twisting those theories will convince Mr. Nerva to march on the obelisks any sooner, then so be it. Well, I found the report on Mr. Nerva to be rather exaggerated, and as an Englishman, one might imagine that I'd view Roman leadership with some disdain. Yet, in my experience, I found Mr. Nerva to be both honest and intellectually engaging. In fact, after a lengthy conversation, I dare say that Mr. Nerva has the right of it when it comes to this island's politics. As the Romans created Pax Romans, perhaps this new legion will create Pax Archon. Even if it doesn't, I doubt it will harm my research. So I see no reason to interfere in this pointless sport.
The most interesting thing that I've observed about Minions animals has been what they don't do. They never fight. Among creatures that have been domesticated for generations, like cats or dogs, that's normal. But there's a reason zoos keep their animals in separate enclosures. Certain instincts are hard to curb, and there should definitely be more disputes among such a diverse group. Mei Yin has even integrated a herd of herbivores into her army, as their thick hides have proven resistant to fire and explosives. Yet despite being surrounded by carnivores, they remain untouched. It doesn't make sense. That's not to take anything away from Mei Yin. She works hard to treat and train her animals well. She's not bad company either. At least when she's not mute and I don't go full biologist. Sometimes it felt like speaking a new language. But it's been kind of refreshing.
After much deliberation, I have decided to accept Mr. Nerva's offer. True, the new legion is not beloved by many other tribes, but was Charlemagne beloved by his enemies? If my studies are to continue, I must be on the right side of history. As part of our agreement, I will need to travel with Mr. Nerva for a time and wait to study the obelisks until the new legion has taken care of some smaller matters of foreign policy. As such, I have left Rockwell Manor in Isabel's charge. She will take excellent care of it, I'm sure. Well then, on to new frontiers. Excelsior! I am absolutely astonished, shocked, flabbergasted. Why in the world was Miss Walker investigating the obelisks at the side of such a savage woman and without notifying me first? Was she intending to discover their secrets behind my back and keep them all to herself? The nerve! The audacity! And after I treated her with such respect and civility. Well, unfortunately for her, Sir Edmund Rockwell is always one step ahead of his rivals. Thanks to my partnership with Mr. Nerva, I can combine what scraps of knowledge she has on the obelisks with my own findings, and shall be none the wiser. Why? Since she's confined to a cage, I can keep my presence concealed from her altogether.
Helena, you're a dipstick. Going through my notes, I've realized that there are more predators than prey across this entire island by almost double. That's the opposite of how any ecosystem is supposed to work. I can't believe it took a Tyrannosaurus frolicking through the snow for me to see this. It's plain as day. What to make of it? Add in the human factor, and it's impossible for this island to continue as it is by natural means. So, what? Is this island's wildlife being monitored and curated somehow? I should speak with Rockwell. Maybe he's come to a similar conclusion. There's nothing special about the diet of these tame creatures when compared to their wild counterparts. Part of that is the Beast Queen's doing, as she takes them on regular hunting excursions for training purposes. Curiously, they never have to range too far. There is an abundance of prey nearby, despite the size of her pack. That this is held true, regardless of her domesticated creature's remarkable birth and growth rates, makes it even more unusual. Oh, and I did finally get her name. Li Mei Yin. She's gotten a little less glary, too. In hindsight, maybe starting by studying her animal's feces just gave her the wrong impression.
Found mostly in marshes and jungles, Achatina lunucegnus is a very slow, very non-threatening land mollusk. It might be the simplest creature on the island, and while it only provides a small amount of protein, an easy meal is always of value on the island. Unlike nearly every other creature on the island, Achatina does not defecate normally. Instead, it secretes a thick, sticky substance. Achatina leaves trails of this slime, but the trails are so thin that they crumble to dust quickly. Legend has it that Achatina can be tamed with a special cake made from harvested crops and resources. There is a very disgusting but useful fact about Achatina that causes tribes to seek to tame them. Its secretion quite possibly the most intelligent human creature on the planet. It understands meaningful experiences much faster than other creatures, including humans, making them smarter too. If Truden's cleverness didn't make it formidable, then its tactics and biology would. It specifically pack hunts at night when we are most vulnerable and sees humans as its primary prey. This audacity is made especially dangerous due to its serrated fangs poison, which drains stamina from any creature, but outright paralyzes humans. Thankfully, Truden is fairly small. Were it larger, it might well have become the dominant creature of its ecosystem. I thought Truden simply could not be tamed until I finally saw a lone survivor with one. She told me that she let Trudy hunt a few of her tribe's smaller creatures for sport, and it eventually started following her everywhere. It seems that while Truden is too intelligent for the rote conditioning of her train and food, it can instead gradually gain loyalty to a social approach that provides it with the opportunity to among the few carnivores on the island that can match Tyrannosaurus in size. Spinosaurus aquarelica does not match its ferocity. Spinosaur's 4 legs and large sail make it fairly swift on land and incredibly fast in the water. Its marvel is arguably the ability to change stances by going from quadruped to biped. The creature is visually distinguished by its spectacular sail. In my travels, I have seen many different and brightly coloured sails, as every Spinosaurus appears to have a slightly different colour. The one comforting fact about Spinosaurus is that it seems more appealing than away from it. Although the creature is more powerful, faster, agile, and insatiable in water, it tends to become less hostile as it gets farther from it. On one occasion, I only escaped a Spinosaurus by getting far enough from its leg bone to make it simply lose interest. Spinosaurus is an incredibly well-rounded apex carnivore, faster than a Tyrannosaurus in water, and able to travel on land unlike a megalodon. Its all-terrain versatility may be unrivaled. Stegosaurus regium has approximately 16 paired rows of plates along its back, flanked by another smaller pair of 6 plates. This is contrary to the alternating rows on Stegosaurus fossils I've seen in museums. Not surprisingly, Stegosaurus uses the spines on its tail to defend itself. While not aggressive, Stegosaurus will come to the aid of another nearby Stegosaurus. This implies it to be a herd animal. Stegosaurus is commonly used as a safe way to transport large quantities of goods, and once you saddle one up, not even an Argentavis could knock you off that perch. A Stegosaurus can be trained to flex its back plates for different purposes, hardened to shield it from attack, in a heavier alignment that deals crippling blows, or oriented more sharply to pierce armor. These various plate configurations also come in handy for stripping wood from trees, gathering thatch, or foraging for wild berries, respectively. Stegosaurus can knock back or impale with an edge of its spiky tail, keeping predators at bay or pinning them in place. Its spiked appendage also helps for gathering berries. Go figure. Possessing the appearance of a half-duck, half-dinosaur, Hesperornis is a medium-sized fish-eating bird, common in the rivers and lakes of the island. It would be about 2/3 the height of a human if it stood tall, but it rarely does. Hesperornis spends most of its time gliding along the surface of the water, where it is much more maneuverable. Hesperornis is barely a threat to any land-dwelling creature, as its legs are too short for it to move around effectively. But it is surprisingly fast in the water. It can easily hunt down fish and other small water-dwelling creatures. Not particularly useful for hunting, and not being affectionate, Hesperornis is primarily kept for the eggs it produces after consuming much fish. When rendered correctly, the eggs separate into two useful substances. One is a protein substance that is high in calories, and the other is an oily liquid that is effectively the same as the oil found in the ocean. Megalania muraspeed is among the largest creatures found throughout the island's complicated cave networks. Reaching up to 3 meters long, it can traverse vertically up cave walls with little difficulty thanks to its powerful claws. Fortunately, Megalania's size means it is unlikely to sneak up on anyone. Unfortunately for spelunkers, it is an aggressive and dangerous creature nonetheless. Like other Varanidae, Megalania is a venomous creature. Its poison is slow-acting, but will drain the victim's effective strength and health until death, unless cured by a rare antidote. That said, the Megalania's prey are usually ripped apart well before they succumb to the poison's long-term effects. The rare ability of Megalania to effortlessly climb sheer environmental walls makes it a highly sought-after mount. While it is by no means the fastest, strongest, or toughest mount, the manner in which it can effortlessly scale mountains, climb up barricades, hide in trees, or upside down, ensures it will always have a place in any tribe's stables. Among the island's most tenacious pack is Hyaenodon dirus, a carnivore most often found across the mountains and tundras in packs of 3 to 6. Hyaenodon is a very intelligent predator. Before engaging, it determines if the payoff for a fight is worth the risk of injury. Hyaenodon often prefers not to fight unless there is an already weakened prey or a fresh carcass nearby. This temperament changes quickly though, near the presence of injured creatures. Hyaenodon quickly becomes very aggressive, and the pack attacks with ruthless abandon. With each vicious chomp of scavenged meat, the Hyaenodon rapidly recovers health and stamina. Despite being too small to ride, Hyaenodon are still popular pets. Their intelligence means they train well, and their natural pack mentality makes them excellent hunting dogs. Their ability to quickly recover health by consuming raw flesh off the bone ensures that they can take punishment, yet continue to fight, and they can efficiently preserve meat in specially crafted saddlebags. A common and terrifying sight on the tundra is a rider on a canis with a pack of Hyaenodon at its side, howls and jeers echoing through the night.